Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. As you know, today I will be sharing my reflections on my conversation with Dr. Lexx from Wednesday's episode number 153. If you missed it, go ahead and check it out. It was so good. We discussed vulnerability in relationships, the difference between truth and honesty, common challenges people face when it comes to building and maintaining true relationship intimacy, shame-free sex ed. We also talk about how to address mental health concerns such as depression and anxiety within the context of sexual and intimate relationships, and learning how to fight fair. I want to start with learning how to fight fair. I joked with Dr. Lexx that my husband and I are a code word couple, and it's true, we are. We have a word we can say to end a discussion if it is getting too heated, when one of us needs to take a breath, or if one of us feels like the conversation is just flying off the rails. This has saved us so many times over the last few years from taking arguments to that next level that no one wants to get to. Arguing is a skill that we're not taught, and in my experience, doing it wrong or unfairly, to use Dr. Lexx's word, can really take your relationship down a path that can be tough to recover from. And if nothing else, it makes you feel pretty horrible in the moment. So I've used the code word when I'm angry or so upset that I want to cry, because I don't like to argue when I'm crying. It's annoying, and it almost always happens when we argue, I cry. So I throw out the code word so I can have a minute to catch my breath. I've used it when I don't feel like my partner is speaking kindly or fairly to me, and it's like a hey, hello, code word, check yourself, what's going on here? And I've used it when I simply feel like we've gotten off on the wrong foot. So you know how that happens. Sometimes there's just a quick miscommunication, and you're like, wait, what is going on here? I didn't even realize we were arguing. Throw out the code word. It stops everything. And I would try my best not to speak for him, but at times I've observed when he's used it is to take that breather and to process, to get some space, and when admittedly my emotions might be taking over the conversation, and perhaps I'm too deep into my feelings to recognize that I'm no longer being productive, rational, or nice. So I cannot recommend this strategy enough. Truthfully, this was not an easy tactic for me to sink my teeth into, because I hate letting things linger. I want to hash it all out right away, get it over with, get the confrontation over with, and get back to a happy place. But I've learned that my desire to push through is not always beneficial. My husband he likes a little more space sometimes, and that's totally fair. And I've really come to appreciate the breaks from the discussion and the breathers we can both take, because I know for us, the code word does not mean the conversation is dropped for good or entirely. But I know it means we will pick it back up when the environment is calmer, and that almost always, if not always, yields a better result, a more enjoyable result, a more enjoyable conversation. So, highly recommend a code word. We also have a code word and sometimes a phrase for when I am deep in the throes of a mental health challenge, which brings us back to the point of the conversation with Dr. Lexx around how to address mental health concerns within the context of intimate relationships. This has really been a struggle for me over the last few years, mainly because my mental health challenges have been greater than ever before. And previously in my life, I was kind of flying by the seat of my own pants. But now I have this other person in my life who can support me, wants to support me. But we also have these little children that sometimes I really need help with, and when I'm in those moments. So it is so difficult for me to explain what I need in the moment. So like I said, we've come up with these words and phrases, usually ones that are completely unrelated to the context of the situation, that I can say to prompt certain words of support and certainly actions on his part that will help me through those situations. So all of these code words and phrases, as well as what they mean and what they prompt, are discussed outside of the heat of the moment. And just as an example, if I am really feeling depressed or I'm really feeling like I'm having an anxiety attack, I will say a phrase or a word, and he knows that means I need him to completely take over kid duties. It's usually at a point where he's come home from work and I might be getting ready to put them in the bath or put them to bed. And it's like, nope, you need to completely take over this situation. And if I come to a point after having a breather where I can offer help and I'm in a place to offer help, that I can do that. But the assumption on his part is that he is completely taking over whatever is going on with our kids. And it also indicates to him that something's just going on that I'm not going to be able to explain. And so, because one of the things that was really challenging was if I am, like I said, in a moment of or a time of depression or anxiety, and he calls me and he's trying to talk to me, prior to that code word, sometimes my inability to explain what I'm feeling was taken the wrong way. It was taken like I was being dismissive or angry or agitated. And now I know I can just say this word or this phrase, depending on what situation we're in. And he knows really not to ask me any more questions about it because I can't always speak in the most loving way that I want to speak in. So it kind of just helps remove the emotion from the situation and puts us in go mode or puts us in stop mode, whatever, whether we're arguing or in a mental health thing. It's like, it just takes the emotion out and prompts action without words. You know what I mean? So anyway, the idea of being a code word couple really helps me also to feel connected to my partner in difficult situations because they are reminders for both of us that we've already had the tough conversation. We have come to the understanding of what these words and these phrases mean. We've done that work. So in the moment we can just do. And there's something really connecting about that. There's something really powerful about being able to say a word and you and your partner just go into these zones of doing. And you're like, wow, we're really in sync. We really know what we're doing here. And I feel really connected to you right now. And I'm getting the support I need and we're good. It feels good. So let's move on. I want to talk about the idea of truth versus honesty. I have to say, prior to going to therapy, I'm not sure that I would have fully grasped the depth of this idea. So as a reminder, Dr. Lexx shared the example in our conversation of, and I'm just going to quote her here, a lot of people will tell you a truth, but it won't be the honest part of themselves. She says there is a difference between truth and honest. Truth is, you walked in here and yelled at me and I didn't like it. Honest is, you walked in here, you yelled at me, and I was so scared I was going to lose you in that moment because I thought you were abandoning me. Ooh, that hits deep. That hits deep. And one of the biggest changes I've made in how I cultivate connection and intimacy with my partner is that I really make a point of sharing the honest phrase rather than the truthful phrase. Which, if you hear that out of context, it might sound funny, but given the example I just gave you, I think we're on the same page. And I mentioned that I wouldn't have fully grasped this without therapy because there are times when I need to iron out and really uncover for myself what is the honesty behind the truth statement. What am I really trying to say? What is really bothering me? What do I really want to express? And there are times where I'm very clear on my own about what really the honest thing is. And sometimes I need that other unbiased and professional person to help me kind of sift through the weeds to get to the honest from the truth. You know what I'm saying? So I want to give credit where it's due to my partner who is supportive and loving and trustworthy with my feelings, which does provide that safe space for me to share the honest parts of myself. But I also know that I am so much more secure on my own in my honest truth that I don't fear sharing it because I know it is my truth. It's definitely a combination. Not everyone gets my honesty. He does because he's earned it and I want him to have it. But I also know that I've worked on that security within myself for that honest place. And when you're secure within yourself and who you are and what your truth is, there isn't much you're afraid of, and there isn't much you're afraid of saying because you know it's honest. It's pretty cool, and therapy has definitely been the catalyst for helping me find that strength and understanding that concept. And lastly, when it comes to Dr. Lexx, I want to talk about shame-free sex ed. We've talked about this a bunch on the show, and so I want to take this time to remind myself and to remind you that when you're talking to your kids about sexuality, pleasure, intimacy, and honestly straight up biology, share the truth. Arm your kids with information. They will be safer and better off for it. And trust me, you are not alone if you feel like you need to arm yourself with the information first. We, meaning millennials and older, weren't taught shame-free sex ed. We were taught pretty shameful, embarrassing, and uncomfortable sex ed. So as parents, we need to educate ourselves and find peace within our own sexuality in order to convey that to our kids. All right, so if you are not signed up yet to join me, Dr. Lexx, Dr. Morgan, and Dr. Christy live on June 28th, head over to sasssays.com/panel for your chance to interact with the experts and get your questions answered. And as a reminder, you can also anonymously submit questions ahead of time when you sign up that I will ask the experts on the panel on your behalf without sharing your name or information. And I don't know, just again, if you did not catch the episode with Dr. Lexx, there was just so much good stuff. She's such a wonderful soul, and it's really worth a listen, as are all of my shows. But I don't know, Dr. Lexx, I just feel so connected to her. I really related to her on a lot of topics, particularly around body image and motherhood, and it was lovely. So, all right, I will see you next week for our final expert interview with the Date Dr. Christy. And then, of course, for my reflections after that, and hopefully at the live panel. All right, bye.